Welcome to Gandhara Independent Film Festival's panel discussion on the film We Don't Need Your Kind. And joining us is, of course, the director, Kennedy Cao. He is based in Toronto, and his works revolve around stories of Asian Canadians and Asian Canadian diaspora. He won the Grand Prix Prize at Montreal Festival, the Nouveau Cinema 2020, for his other short film called Danica's Mom. Also with us is Vivian Xavier. He is a cinematographer for television, commercials, short films, documentaries, and music videos. Vivian also attended international film business at Busan Asian Film School. So hello, Vivian. Hello, Ken.
Mina.
Yeah, to start this, let's talk about the development of the project first. I mean, I'm curious about what inspired you to create the story and combine these elements of like social media vlogging or social media influencing, and then mix it with this bigger topic of Asian racism.
Yeah, I'll start that off. So as we all know, earlier on in the pandemic, there was this flux of anti-Asian hate crimes, and just being an observer of it, and obviously feeling overwhelmed by those hate crimes. Just honestly, just when you see something on the news that provokes an emotion out of you, as a filmmaker, as an artist, you just have the desire to do something with your art and say your thoughts about it. And that's really what inspired it. It was just this kind of overwhelming desire to kind of put my take out there. And as a person who has had social media in the past, and who has seen how social media has helped develop these social movements, and has given voices to people, I thought it was important to show that in this film, to show how social media can be this powerful tool to bring awareness to events. And so that's really the kind of inspiration and why I wanted to do this.
And Vivian, when did you come in into the project? Are you longtime friends?
Actually, it's funny because I during the pandemic in 2020, I had just moved to Canada at that time, and I was very aware of what was happening, through the news, and I believe a year before Kennedy actually approached me. Um, I had, just out of the blue, I had applied to his production company for some other short film or something that that needed someone to come on board as a cinematographer, and I had completely forgotten about it. And then he sent me the script just out of the blue, and he was like, "Hey, do you remember me? And I used to be based in Toronto." And I'd love for you to come on board. Why don't you have a read of the script? And I saw it, and immediately I was like, okay, this is something that I really wanted to do, because those are the sort of stories that I gravitate towards anyway. Shooting something like that really piques my interest. And so I immediately wrote back to him, and then we started talking. And it's the other way around now, that because of the project, we've actually become better friends, and we keep up with each other. And on quite a few occasions, we just end up on Zoom calls, just to see how the other person is doing. So it's worked the other way around, but that's how I got familiarized with the project, and I came on board.
Then, when I saw the film, what I actually noticed about it is um, there's a documentary vibe to it, particularly when it comes to the camera works, how you framed it, how the camera moved, and then at the middle of it, there's also this like the editing sort of kind of played with time, like it kind of felt like it's kind of distorted in a way. So
Mm.
is it intentional? Yeah.
Yeah, so I could speak to that. So in terms of the film having this documentary vibe to it, it is very observational. The film definitely takes a step back and just kind of gives the character its space, and it doesn't impose itself into the film. And so the film therefore kind of develops naturally. And I think that like for us, we did want to tell an authentic story, and kind of evoke some sort of realism in this piece, because it is a real issue, right? In terms of the editing, I think when you're in that state, when you know experience something as overwhelming as being hate crimed, time kind of becomes distorted. It like you kind of have a lack of awareness of your surroundings, and of of just a lot of different external things. And we definitely wanted, at least for the editing, we wanted the time in the film to be not necessarily something that is conventional, that is conventional, where you just kind of feel that something's a bit off, right? And so therefore, yeah, the film does take these little jumps and kind of moves forward in time. And I hope that gives that feeling to the audience.
Yeah, I mean, when Kennedy and myself, we started having these conversations early on about how we wanted to approach it. The immediacy of time was like one of the first things that we spoke about, because things were happening, and we could, and it's not like it was happening, you know, a year before when the pandemic started. Like, it had still, that stuff was still happening. You would still see uh, news clippings or recordings, or news stories of people, especially elderly people, being attacked, and it would be just out of the blue, and that was just stuff that you actually saw. But if you if you remember, on Facebook and other social media sites, there were a lot of memes and jokes sort of passing through as well, that they were guised as jokes, but they were just underhanded racism, you know. And so everything was happening at that point. And we, in terms of the camera movement, I remember that that also came about as sort of like a budgetary thing, because we didn't have the budget to go with certain stabilizers or whatever. And also in certain locations, like, a lot of the footage was just it was just stolen footage. Like, we would just go to the location, like the train, the grocery
Grocery
store.
store.
In fact, Ken and myself, we had a little bag that we cut a hole in, and we had the lens poking through, and we tried to see if that worked. It didn't work, and then we just went with just walking around with the camera, acting like we were just there to buy stuff. And we almost got caught. And Dina, our producer, was like, okay, I think the manager is coming. So we handed her the camera. I took the card, and I ran the other way, just so that we would have the footage, just doing a lot of this stuff. So some of it was informed by those choices as well. And it added a different life to the final image. And I remember talking to Kennedy, and I was like, I don't know if it's going to cut well, and how it's going to be edited together, because it's a little organic, and how are you going to find the point. But he was like, yeah, just trust me. And when I saw the final piece, it just flowed together. It just fit together so well. So yeah, I was really happy about that. But a lot of it was budget. A lot of it was just the locations that we had, the nature of finding that moment. So that's also where the documentary element sort of comes in, because we just had to find that moment and just go with it. Especially because all of it was handheld.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, Also, Ken, in producing this film, I've noticed that majority of your crew are Asian and South Asian. Was this also a conscious decision?
It was. It definitely was. I think when you are making a film, it's, as you know, I mean, it's a very collaborative process, and you want people who can relate to the work that you're doing, um, and yes, so it definitely was a conscious decision. Um, I think from the producer, from Dina the producer, to our wardrobe designer Anise, everyone had their own take on the film, and they were able to inform the story in that way, and kind of help me make my decisions as a director. Um, and so yeah, so for sure, it was definitely a conscious thing there. Yeah.
And to follow that, I'm actually curious also. Um, does also the racism situation affect your situation as film workers in the industry?
Yeah. So the question is, how does racism affect our situation in the
Yeah,
industry?
right. Like for you guys who are in Canada.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think I think in the Canadian film industry there is slowly starting to be this emphasis um, diverse work and diverse content, and so slowly and surely we're seeing more more BIPOC filmmakers get the opportunities to make TV shows, to make movies. I will say that uh, I think the content itself is something that us as BIPOC filmmakers have to also um, have to also prioritize. I think it's not necessarily um, just being on stage and being you know a BIPOC filmmaker. It's really about telling your personal stories, and I guess showing people that unique perspective that one has as an individual. Um, so what I'm basically trying to say is I think as filmmakers, as BIPOC filmmakers, I think there's like an obligation for us to be authentic, because that's the kind of that's the only way uh, we can deal with these racist issues. It's just offering our perspective and hoping people can empathize with that. And so yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I echo that sentiment. There's a lot of a push for diversity. Um, for me as a cinematographer, I've been really blessed with having met some really good cinematographers from the CSC who've been so helpful. They just exude grace, and they've helped me a lot. Like just to sort of navigate and just talk about things. Like maybe because during the pandemic we couldn't really get on set. I did get into the a mentorship program with the Canadian Society of Cinematographers, and I believe that one of the reasons was because they wanted more people with different voices to come through, and they're actively pushing for that, especially female cinematographers. One of the person who actually helped me you know get in that program was a female cinematographer, and there's a lot of push for that, for those sort of stories to come through. And there it doesn't matter who the the cinematographer from the Canadian Society are. They're very happy and open to talking about the process, to put your name out there, to help you, get certain positions. Um, so in Canada, there's, right now there's quite a bit of push, and that can only yield positive results, because that gives you the confidence to tell the stories that you want to tell, and gain that experience. So I mean, for me personally, I feel I've been very blessed that way.
That's really good to hear. Yeah, thank you for that. Um, Going back to the film, I think that Lena did a very good performance in portraying the character. So, can you tell a bit about, you know, directing her or handling your actor during the set?
Yeah, well, Lena was so open to everything, and with all the actors I work with, I like to create a backstory for each character, and really do a lot of character work, and just rehearsal work with the actor, and Lena was game for all of that. Um, I think Lena has a really good ability to just be in the moment, and that's important for any performer. Just kind of uh, trusting your intuition, and just kind of allowing, uh, just accepting the space that's around you. And yeah, like Lena was, because it is a difficult. I think the film, it's such a quiet film. There's only one moment in the film where she speaks, and so she has to be quiet basically for the entire film, and that can be hard for actors, because most, when you think of actors and when you think of performing, a lot of the time you think of dialogue. A lot of the time you think of a conversation of some sort. But Lena had to just stay in her space, and just be alone, and so it was really about that. It was about figuring out what the character was thinking about moment to moment, and just having those discussions with Lena, and just being open to that.
Thank you. Um, so yeah, as a whole, or in your personal perspectives, what exactly is the message that you want the audience to take in after watching the film?
That's a good question. I think there isn't really one uh, concrete message that I would want the audience to take. I think, just generally speaking, when we watch films, we should learn something about ourselves, about our surroundings, about society, about human behavior. And I would just hope that the audience would understand that this movement is or not necessarily this movement, but these hate crimes are damaging, and they're still ongoing, and they affect people. And I think just hopefully people can be more empathetic to this situation, and yeah, understand that humans are involved, honestly. So yeah, I think there, in terms of a message, there are a lot of layers to the film that a lot of people point out and interpret, and so that's a joy for me as a filmmaker, to hear all these different takes and nuances that the film conveys. But yeah, in terms of one message, it's really just just wanting people to be more empathetic to the situation.
And I would definitely agree with that. When I watched the film, um, I actually thought of like, oh, it can be interpreted in this way, but it can also mean this way, which I think is a very good point for discussion.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you so much for creating We Don't Need Your Kind. I think we can wrap this up by maybe you could leave us like uh, a brief message on what did you learn during filming it. Maybe something that young filmmakers and other short filmmakers can learn from based from your experience.
Viv, do you want to start off?
Yeah,
Vivian, tell me.
Vivian.
Well, I mean, one of the first things that I learned, and I mean it, I'll say it in a jocular fashion, but it is very important, especially for cinematographers, especially young cinematographers, is to take care of your body, because a lot of this was handheld. Some of the takes were like 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I could really feel my age. Um, and I remember joking with my brother, and I was like, everybody on the crew is so young. I just feel so old every day. I come from the set, I just feel really old because my
But
back
Viv,
used
got
to
a
hurt.
young energy to you. That's
Yeah,
making it
yeah.
work, you know?
Well, again, was always positive, as you can see. But so that's one of the things. But it's also about um, trusting the process, about trying to listen, because one of the things, like, for me was just, and it always has been, is just listening to the director. So I'm so glad that I was able to listen to the director. Don't be dismissive of people's age, because once you're on a film set, you're working as a family, and just listen and try to do what the director wants or what he sees for the film. I think that's really important, especially for this one, because where we ended up shooting was such a small space that we had, like, if I didn't listen to how Kennedy liked his films to be shot, or how he the process that he likes to go through, I would have employed a different lighting technique, and that would have hindered things. So you need to be open to that, and you need to listen to the director, and you need to really uh set your ego aside to see what works best for the project, because at the end of the day, this it's a very important story. So uh, u- using that using those lessons that I guess I've learned in the past, is to let your ego go, to keep your ears open, to keep your eyes open. I think those would be like the most important things, and then sort of understand what is happening in the story itself, what the emotions are. That's something that I learned on this, and hopefully I'll continue to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo that. I think, uh, as a director, it is important to be open to collaboration. As an artist in general, it's important to be open to that, and so um, I can definitely echo what Vivian is saying there. I'll also say that this film reminded me how important personal filmmaking is, because as independent filmmakers, there can be a lot of obstacles that can get in the way, and those obstacles can deter you from making your film. And if you're making something that isn't personal, it's hard to overcome those challenges. And so, on this film, there were definitely a lot of internal and external challenges that came about, and it was just the reminder of how important this story is to me, and how important this story is to a lot of Asian Canadians and Asian Americans, honestly, all Asian identifying people in the world. It was that kind of allowed me to push through and ultimately make the final product. I think just in terms, like, for young filmmakers, that's, I think, honestly, the most important thing to to know, is that as long as you are making something personal and meaningful to you, then that's honestly all you need, you know. So yeah, that's what I'll say to that.
Thank you so much. I think we can wrap it up now.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much, Mina.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was
Thank you.
lovely. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Take care.